Hello everyone, this is my first YouTube video ever. Hope it makes sense. This is my 2009 GT Force 2.0 with independent drivetrain. Making this video because I was trying to figure out, I want to do the maintenance on the pivots and the bottom bracket myself, and I haven't found anything useful on YouTube to get it done. Just so you know, I've already taken the chain off and the wheels and all that stuff, as you can see, but I already pre-loosened this, and just so you know, it was a pain in the butt to do. If you haven't worked on this, you don't have to get so far. If you haven't worked on the Stylo cranks before, it has a 5/8 or a 16 millimeter hex on the outside. Don't mess with that. Leave it alone. This is a self-extracting crank. It's a two-piece crank, if you didn't already know that. So you just want to undo the 8 millimeter bolt in the middle. Like I said, I already pre-loosened it the way I did it. I couldn't do it just with the Allen wrench. I actually got a cheater bar and stuck it all the way down in there. I put my thigh against here and cranked down on it, and that loosened up the crank. It was not easy, just so you know. I had two guys trying to loosen that by itself, and I ended up having to resort to the cheater bar to loosen it. I think this is, it says here, it's, I believe it's supposed to be cranked to over 400 pounds of torque, so it's pretty hard, so you need a cheater bar. So, now that it's loose, just undo the cranks. And if you want to come in here real quick. As you start to unscrew this, you can see the crank starts to pull away from the spindle, or I hope I'm using the right terminology. So the way it works, as you just see it came loose, the 8 millimeter bolt pushes against the 16 millimeter bolt. That's how it is self-extracting. So that's how I got my crank arm off, so that I could work on maintaining the pivots on my GT. So from here, it should be pretty straightforward. I should be able to just pull the crank arm off. So I've seen people try it with a mallet. Let's see if this works. I should be able to just slide this off. And wow, I feel really lucky. That's it. So I got my cranks off of here. So I'll pick up the video once I start taking the pivots off. Alright, so I got the cranks off. There's these little seals or spacers here. Obviously, if you remember in the previous video, it was really dirty. I just took these off. I cleaned them off all the way around in these grooves. Inside here, I cleaned all the grease out. The bearing's turning pretty freely, so I'm not too concerned with that. As far as I can tell, the bottom bracket looks in pretty good shape. There's one on the other side. These go right here. The one on the other side is black, just the GXP thing on there. So that goes on the other side. So I'm just cleaning this out. I'm not going to take the bottom bracket apart. It's supposed to be pretty easy. You got to get an external bottom bracket tool and loosen these guys up. But I'm going to take the pivot apart now to do the pivot. Again, this is my first time doing it. It's a 6 millimeter hex here, 5 millimeter on the inside. So I already have the Allen, and this actually turns pretty easy compared to the other one. So we'll see what happens right now. Alright guys, so all I did, I took my bottom bracket tool, this is just the Park BBT 22, just line it up with the pivot. I already loosened it, so this is the non-drive side, just lefty-loosey. Like I said, I already loosened it, it wasn't too bad. And I'm just doing this by hand right now. And Like I said, this is my first time looking into this thing, and it's just screwing itself out. And you can see there it goes. There it is. So that's the inside there. Got a little bit of grime in there, so you can see what I'm dealing with there. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen the other side, just like I did this one, and we'll see what it looks like, and then I'll clean it up. So slight correction to what I just said. Now that I took the non-drive side bottom, this thing off, you have to tap that out so it comes out the other side. You don't unscrew it. So what I did, I just took a spark plug socket and put it around there and slightly tapped it out with the rubber mallet. That's the other way I've seen it done. So just slightly, again, it's just a spark plug socket, and tap it out. And I've already tapped it out a little bit, so I know it's working. So, alright guys, so there it is. I tapped out the metal pivot there. Just want to show you guys, there's the other part of it. So, I tapped it out about halfway, and then I was able to pull it out by hand, just so you know, it really wasn't that difficult. So I'm just going to show you real quick what I'm dealing with here. Just lining up my parts here. This is what makes up the pivot. So that was connected there. So that's what I undid, and this is the bolt that's inside of the pivot. So you undo these first. Then you can get bottom bracket tool on here that unscrews that. Sorry, I gotta keep videoing here. Forgot to show you. Once you take this pivot out, you can undo the iDrive, and so it should swing out easily. This one did. It lines it right up with the suspension, but this whole rear is loose now, right? So that comes apart. Now I get to continue cleaning. So stuff I'll be getting into a little bit more. So I guess my job's just beginning. So you can see though, this is pretty dirty. I just pulled out that bearing ring. So anyways, you can see all the junk in there, and I'll pull out the other side, and that's what I'm dealing with right there. So again, that's why I'm cleaning it. My bike's making some noises when I'm getting on the pedals. Hopefully when I clean all this stuff out, my bike will be running good again. So anyways, there's my bike. Alright guys, just showing you what it looks like here. I've already cleaned out this metal pivot. It's greased. Just in case you're wondering, that is Mobile 1 synthetic grease. So I just put those bearings back in place. Some of you purists out there might be thinking I'm crazy. I went with this. I read a lot of forums, mountain bike website, and everybody says or seems to be okay with Mobile 1 synthetic. You might disagree, but that's what I went with. So anyways, this is just to show you how I'm going to put this back together. Should slide right back over. So yeah, so I just cleaned it out. It's just a reverse process of how I took it apart. So I'll show you how it all lines up here in a minute. Alright, so I already tapped in the other side of the pivot. Now it's just a matter of putting it back together. So again, you want to whatever, I grease anything that's going to have metal on metal contact. So here I am, greasing everything. Should be good. Again, I will say it again, I did use Mobil 1 synthetic grease. Everything I read said it's okay. I guess take it with a grain of salt. I guess if it doesn't work and everything seizes up, I'll let you know in another video. But just going to screw that back in and put this thing back together. So this wasn't super tight, and again, I'm not using a torque wrench either, so it's just a ratchet. So when I got it in all the way last time, it'll spin the backside. So slide that in. There we go. Alright, so again, I'm all greased up. So I can put grease on here too. Again, they say anything has metal and metal contact, grease it up. So that's what I'm doing. Sorry if this video is taking forever. I'm going to raise the pedal up over there on the opposite side. There I am. There we go. Grab my 8mm. Should be righty-tighty. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And it's sucking itself in. So, you're supposed to tighten this so that there's no gap between the bottom bracket and the crank arm. So, I guess can't necessarily show you all that well, but I'm just going to wipe off some of this excess grease so I can see the gap there. So I'm pretty much done putting this together, and I can see while I'm cranking this, I'm squeezing grease out of there. Let's just see it. So I just squeezed that out, that excess. So anyways, I'm just going to tighten that down. There shouldn't be any gap. Right now, if I wiggle this, there is no play. If you have any play in the crank, that means something's not right. So right now, this feels good right now. I haven't tightened it down to nowhere close to where I got it. It's supposed to be cranked down to somewhere around 450 pounds, not to be confused with the Newton pounds or whatever that measurement is. So anyways, I'll get a buddy's torque wrench tomorrow and crank it down to specs. But for right now, I'm going to just hand tighten this, and then I'm going to take apart this upper pivot. So, alright, to be continued.